Hi everybody, Grumpy here. I've seen recently there's a lot of interest in the playing of the old expeditions. There is a process, you can Google it. I'm not going to go into all that. I just want to touch on a few things to go through. First, remember, if you see on my screen, Expedition 1, Redux, the Pioneers. That's from a long time ago. The universe that we have today is not the universe they had back then. So it's not 100% guaranteed it's going to be perfect, but here's a few things I want to touch on just to see if it makes it smoother for you. I almost wish I would have made this video months ago when I ripped through these things. So let's go ahead and start this guy. By the way, my computer outbehaved. I literally had to unplug the Ethernet cord from it to get it to pull up. So I'm not going to play with it. I don't want to mess my machine up too much. So, just wait for this thing to load up. There's some things that we want to check right away. First, we shouldn't have to worry about PvP or multiplayer. Just to make sure, I would make sure you go in the options and turn them off. Or that's the first place we're headed, is options. Every time I run an expedition of any sort, the first place I go is options, network. I don't play multiplayer, and I definitely don't want PvP while I'm trying to enjoy my game. Come on, look at the critters. But if you want a few hints and stuff on getting there, Professor Cynical has a video about playing this. He actually had a video where he's showing he was playing this game here. You can see we are almost there. There we go. It starts. So let's get that out of the way. First thing we want to do, we hit escape. Options. Network. You notice, even though we're offline, oh, my mouse disappeared. There you are. Multiplayer disabled. PvP nobody. And then if you do multiplayer, the stuff you want to watch for, add base parts, I would say nobody or friends. Delete base parts, nobody. You can show your markers to anyone. I would list that to friends only. Join the group, invite only. Edit base terrain. I'm picky about this stuff. Edit base terrain, for me, nobody. If I were playing, I would let my friends access a refiner if I had one in there. Exocraft flatbed, that's an option. That came in with the remnants. Now remember, even though we're looking at the first one, the gameplay that we have, the world we have, is what we have today. The other ones we don't need. Okay. And then, just to make sure, alright, good. I don't want any noise interfering with us. The next thing we're going to look at, right next to options, expedition. Now, some of the stuff we want to look at, and it has those problems. When this expedition came out years ago, it was a different universe. There have been updates since then. Planets have changed, some planets have moved. What we want to look at, you see, of course, your first step, you got to find your starship. That's a no-brainer. You got to leave the planet. That's a no-brainer. Then it says warp to a new system. So you got to warp to a new system. You have to establish a base. No biggie. Discover creatures. No biggie. You got to find a ship. I want you to find a freighter. Okay? Explore on foot. You just got to run a lot. Here's the one you want to look at. Reach the first rendezvous. This is a planet that you need to get to. If you skip through all this stuff and start bouncing around, which has happened very recently, and he hopefully doesn't get too mad at me for making this now, you might end up light years and light years and light years away from these rendezvous points. For me, I think probably the most important thing to get through these are do the rendezvous points first. Do these first. Rendezvous points first. So you want to do that one. You want to get to that one. Then you look. Second one, the first thing you got to do is you have to get to the second one. Whenever I do an expedition, not just this, but whenever I do, before I even start them, I go through and I'll look at these. If they tell me what is needed, it gives me an idea of what's going on. I also look, what is it going to give me? When I come into an expedition from a main save, I'll open this up. I look, what am I going to need? So, because you can bring stuff in. If I see, oh, I need that, but the game will give it to me, and the expedition gives it to me, I don't bring it in because I don't need it. I'll use that slot to bring something else in. So remember, the last thing we do in the first is reach a rendezvous point. Then we have to get to another rendezvous point. Now let's take a look. We have to be a farmer. First contact. We get a Piper core. Okay, here's a dangerous one. We have to go through a black hole. And we get a portal glyph set. Now, before I jump through that black hole, and I said I'm not done looking, let's go down. We have another rendezvous point. Personally, what I would do before that, I would skip to this just in case in the original game that rendezvous point is in the same area where we're playing. If it's in the same area, I want to hit that rendezvous point before I jump through the black hole. When you jump through a black hole, it gets you a little closer to the center, but it could bounce you across to the other side of the galaxy. And this galaxy that we're playing in is 1.5 million light years away. If you can only warp about 1,000 or 2,000 light years at a time, you're going to be warping for hours. We have to get a multi-tool, companion, boom, boom, boom. Let's get to the next phase. We have another rendezvous point. So we have 4 rendezvous points that we want to get to before we do anything else. Let's look at the last one. 5 places we need to get to before we do the last one. Now, I would check these if they're all relatively close to the first 1, 2, 3, or 4. I want to hit all those rendezvous points first just to get them out of the way. If you look, a lot of stuff we got to do is just almost regular gameplay. It probably doesn't matter where you do that, but these rendezvous points, they are specific planets that were programmed into the expedition when it was put out. Now these redos, they've been reworked because some of the stuff you just can't do anymore, but try to hit the rendezvous points first. If they're all in the same area, get them knocked out first. Once you get those knocked out, your regular gameplay while you're going, you get these the other ones done. So that's mainly what I wanted to cover right now. Am I going to play this? I don't know if I'm going to play it now. I'm probably going to put my file back in there, plug my cable back in, and do something else. But I just wanted to share this. Now, the site that I went and found, I Googled it. Some guy, I believe it's CW Monkey. Props to him. He has available every expedition and every redo from what we're looking at, this is the redo, not the original, and the original is available, all the way up through the swarm. If there's an expedition that's available, he has it in his library. Probably the best place to go look. There's a few other things you can look at and stuff, but he's got a good tutorial. You see up top on his site where you go look at the stuff. Scroll down. There's a lot of notes you want to read on these expeditions, and you will get warnings on some of them. Okay, so I think that's where I'm at today. I'm going to check out and get my cable plugged in and try to get this thing uploaded. Thank you.